Come on. And hit. What's going on, Facebook? It's Shawn Hayes here for another Sales Hustler Spotlight. And I'm excited tonight. We're going to see old Zach. It's all fine with Divine. But first, let me say a big shout out to all the people that have tuned in tonight. We're going to have a great show. We're going to talk to a guy that's been in the business 2.5 years and is pushing around 30 units a month. How's he doing it? Well, he's generating his own business, which I've been screaming about to everybody for the longest time. We got to stop waiting for the up bus. It ain't coming, guys. So Zach's going to share some stuff with us tonight. But first of all, I want to thank QuickPage. I want to thank Chad Morgan and QuickPage over there for the sponsorship, for all the help that they give me weekly for this show so we can bring this to you and it can be professional. You know what I'm saying? I want everybody, before we get started, we're going to be talking a lot with tonight to somebody that's newer in the business. Now, he's still moving units more than a lot of us are out there, but he's still green. He's still green behind the ears. And this is what's cool about it. He's going to be able to share things just like you. If you're newer in the business or you want to get some tricks on how to bring more people in your business, do me a favor, hit share. We need as many salesmen as we can out there to get this story. We need people to get this information. And the only way we can do it is if they watch it. And the only way they can watch it is if you help me by sharing this to everybody. All right. So right now we're going to about to kick this off. I do want you to know, save your questions until the end. Later on in the show, I'll ask you to put your comments in there and your questions, because we're going to have about a 10-minute Q&A with Zach at the end here. I just don't want your questions to get lost in the feed, and that's what happens a lot of times when I ask for them too early. So anyways, let's get started. Shawn Hayes here, your car guy, and we're ready for Sales Hustler Spotlight. I want to bring the spotlight to Zach Divine. He's out of Joplin, Missouri. It's Joplin, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we're going to say hi to Zach. Zach, why don't you tell everybody out there in Facebook land and car world, hello.
How are you doing, guys?
Zach, you were out hunting today, weren't you?
Yes, sir. Yep. Last day of rifle. Nope. Just seen a little 6-point, let him walk, and we'll go back to bow season now.
All right. Well, back to bow season. I want to get in here a little bit and find out a little bit about who you are, man. Don't be nervous tonight. We're going to have a great time. We're just going to talk like a couple buddies having a cup of coffee or a beer. All right. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
So I was born in California, but been raised here my entire life. So I've been from the Joplin, Webb City area here. So I've lived here for right at 30 years.
30 years? So you're 30 years old then?
I'm 32. I lived in California for like the first 2 or 3 years of my life, and then my parents are from here, and so we moved back. So. All
right. Do you have the original mother, father, same family?
No, both my parents were divorced early on. That was kind of one of the things that I think was a little bit that's made me do so well at this is we moved a lot when I grew up. So it was always like a change of scenery. I went to about 6 different schools when I was a kid. And so I was always the new kid. So it always made me, I had to be very good at making new friends because I was always moving. So I think that's something that's helped me succeed later on in life, even though I didn't like it back then.
Why'd you guys move so much, man?
Just situational. My mom was, she did the best she could, but she was basically a single mother. So, there was times that we'd have to move because this house was cheaper or this situation happened or whatever. So I didn't grow up very well off. We weren't poor. My mom never let us know that we were. She was an amazing mom and she did great, but we always struggled a little bit. So we had to move a lot and switch schools. And like I said, it was hard back then, but it definitely prepared me for things later on in life that I didn't even know that it would.
Well, it probably was much easier when you got into sales too, being able that you could, kind of go into any kind of situation and make friends or be easy to, I mean, that's the hardest thing, right? In sales is the breaking of the rapport, and you've had to do that a lot going in and out of different schools, Tell me something about your childhood that's memorable that you love.
And that's the thing. The most memorable thing about my childhood was the amount of friends I was able to make. I never had a shortage of great friends and lifelong friends now that I've known for 25, 30 years. So always having new adventures and always being able to experience new things, even though they were challenges at the time. That's probably one of the best things about my childhood.
What was the biggest challenge? What was the biggest challenge you had?
The first month, 2 months in the new school. So that was always the tough part.
You ain't kidding, man. I moved into a few schools, man. That's hard, man. Especially the guys don't like you. All right. Off the bat. You know what I mean? And so you're like, it's so difficult. So you probably were pretty good at making friends. And that's probably why you're doing good in sales, to be honest with you. Okay. So we're in grade school. You graduated high school. Where did you go after that, man?
So my mom worked for a trucking company here in Joplin, Missouri, CFI. It's a nationally known trucking company, and they were like the best of in the trucking world. And I was like, hey, I see my mom having success there. I want to work there. And so I took a couple of jobs through a temp agency because that's what you had to do. And I got hired on about 3 months later at CFI, and I worked there for right at 7.5 years as a fleet supervisor, running a fleet of anywhere from 65 to 80 trucks. And I did that for 7.5 years.
So you decided to skip college altogether then?
Yeah, I went for about, I think I went half a semester, and I just realized it just wasn't for me. It didn't work out. I didn't want to do it. And so I kind of started blazing my own trail in life, and it worked out. So,
the thing I've noticed about college and a lot of salesmen, I've noticed this about a lot of salesmen, interviewing them, but just getting to know them over the years and knowing myself, is if you're not passionate about it and you don't find interest in it, we have a hard time of doing well at it. I didn't do well at school either because I just hated what they were teaching me. You know what I mean? But I'm so studious when it comes to something I love.
Absolutely.
Are you that same way?
Yeah. I mean, if I don't like it or I don't have a major desire or passion about it, I mean, I'm done in about 3 minutes. I'm just, I'll pay attention, but I'm not going to, remember or retain or want to do it again.
All right, so you did this job for 7.5 years, right? What made you venture out of it? It sounds like you did pretty good at it and you were there for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I ran a top 10 fleet in the room out of about 50 fleet supervisors. I was an assistant to a lot of the executives in doing extra projects, et cetera. And the biggest thing that always just ate away at me was that no matter how hard I worked and no matter how much more I did, the guy beside me always got the same benefits. He always got the same compensation. And that always, kind of nagged at me. And we'll call it a conflict or a difference of opinion that resulted me in me leaving in September of 2012. And we parted ways, and I took about 6 months off after that. And it really started a weird time in my life where I was 26, I believe, 25, 26 years old. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had invested 7.5 years in this position, and I was kind of lost. I didn't know where I was going to go. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I was just kind of, at the time, looking back, I was a lost mid-20-year-old kid trying to find my way and my path in life. And it led to some pretty rough times after that. So
Tell me about the rough times there, just briefly. Like when you're saying you're kind of like, what do I do with my life? Are you hanging out a lot? Are you going out to the bars? Are you hanging out with your buddies, kind of stuff?
luckily, I met my wife, and we had started dating. And so nothing too much of the bad stuff there. But it just more so financial. This kind of begins my car story.
How old are you at that time, Zach?
I'm 26.
Okay.
Back is right at 2013. So.
All right, so let's build this up real quick. So you get out of a job, you're kind of like stumbling around, like, what do I do? You have your wife, okay, but you're like, where am I going to go with my career, right? So you find the car business on accident, or how did you find it?
So I'm dating my wife at this point.
Okay.
Like we just started dating. And so for 6 months, I was always doing a side business. I was always doing, a side hustle. And I was always selling stuff. I was always the guy that if a friend needed something sold or, anything like that, they were like, call Zach. Zach will sell it for you. And so I sold iPhones before Best Buy and AT&T all got into it. And so what I did is I had 3 suppliers and I was selling iPhones on eBay. And I was making decent money, but it was just kind of getting by. So I decided I have some great friends that will come up later on in this story that I had seen them having success. And so I was like, hey, you know what? I think this is something that I could do. And so I went and applied. And of course, if you're somewhat intelligent and well put together, 9 times out of 10, you can usually get hired the same day you go into a dealership. And I had a friend come out that knew me, and he goes, what are you doing here? And I was like, well, I'm applying for a job. And I was like, I was told I had to interview with so-and-so. And he goes, give me your application. You're hired. Come in next Monday. He wasn't even the manager, but I was hired. So, and then that's when my career started in the car business, which was, it's going to be a little bit confusing here, but was March of 2013. And that's when I started at the same auto group, Frank Fletcher Auto Group, but at our Ford store. All
right. So let me make this easy for everybody. So you're trying to find your career, you stumble in a dealership, you fill out an application, your buddy says, hey man, come on back. You start your career, but I told everybody your career started 2.5 years ago. So there must have been a time that you were in the car business before you were in the car business.
Absolutely. And
right. How long did you stay there?
So I was there for 4 months. I stayed until July. My best month was the month that I quit, ironically enough. And that was 10 cars. I sold 10 cars in 2 weeks because I had not a care in the world. I had another job. I was going back to trucking, what I knew. But besides that 10, that was really a fluke. I averaged for those 4 months right at 5-6 cars.
Okay, so tell me, Zach, why you think the person that could sell 28 to 35 cars a month now, okay, could only sell 4 to 10 back then? What was the difference?
100% it was me. And when I say it was me not taking responsibility. It was me not taking the action. It was me having a bad attitude. It was me blaming everyone else around me instead of figuring out what I needed to do. And luckily I learned that lesson.
I love that, brother. I love that. I love that you can look back on it and see why you failed, and you can give your story so others are probably in the same boat or had been in the same boat can maybe take a look in the mirror themselves. We are our worst enemy sometimes, and a lot of times we like to play the blame game. And it sounds like you probably did too back then, but then you had you look back on it now and you see, hey, I was my biggest problem. You know what I tell people all the time? If you don't have both feet in the boat or both feet in the water and you got one in each, you're not going to do good at anything. I promise you. What do you think?
Man, like, if I could tell the one thing, if we ended this interview right now, and the only thing you got out of this is the one thing is I want to say right now. Today, commit to the car business. Commit, and this is for other people that are watching that maybe they're not in the car business. Whatever you're doing, fully commit to it and then watch the success you have. Because when you're halfway in and halfway out and you're looking for that next opportunity, you're never given the opportunity you have right now in front of you the full potential. So commit to it and do it. And a lot of people won't because they're afraid to fail. But at least if you do fail, you know that you gave it every bit that you had and there was no what ifs.
That was beautiful, man. I loved it. I say that all the time, man. It's just so great to hear it from somebody else, man. I love it. You're absolutely right. All right, so you get out of the car business, okay? After your best month, which was 10, you pushed 10 units out. Now, where do you go after that? Because wait a minute. Before you do that, what did you come home and tell your wife or your girlfriend at the time? Was she your girlfriend or your wife yet?
She was my wife. We got married in May. I quit in June.
Okay, so you go home and you say, honey, I'm glad we got married, but I don't have a job anymore. How was that?
No. I was your atypical struggling salesperson. 6 cars a month, it doesn't pay the bills. There's a common misconception that we make all this money off these car deals, and 6 cars a month, was equaling out to about $1,500 to $2,000 a month, and it wasn't paying the bills. And so this is where the real struggle started there. I decided when I quit, I was smart enough to have another job, and so I went back to trucking. Went to a horrible company, was there for 3 months. I quit. I went into IT. I started getting certifications for computer training because, like I said, I did the iPhones. I know how to take an entire iPhone apart, put it back together. So I've got some skills there on that. And this goes on for another 9 months before I get a call from my friend, Matt Maxwell, who's my new car manager at Toyota.
So how did he know you?
We were friends. So Matt is my new car manager. And then, so Matt and Corey Henson, who's a finance manager at our Ford store now, they were both already in the car business. And so they're the ones that originally attracted me to it back in 2013.
All right. So he calls you up and he says, he probably sells you a bill of goods, man. You should be in the car business. I promise I can make you successful. Get out of that job you hate. It's that's what they do, right? They're salesmen. So he gets you in there. Do you jump at it right away?
Well, no. So he actually calls me, and it's completely different than that. He calls me and he goes, hey, I have a service advisor position open. I think that you would do really well at it. And he'll tell you, I told him, I said, hey, I don't want to be back in the car business. I hate the car business. It's not for me. I'll never work at another dealership. And he's like, then this is where the selling did start. He was like, hey, listen, as a favor to me, please come in and interview for this position. You don't have to take it, just interview for it. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be sitting here with you today. So
that's a great story. And kudos to your manager for not taking the first no or the second no, man. He went for it. And I appreciate that because the guy that got me in the car business, I did the exact same thing to him. I told him no for 2 weeks. He kept calling me, man. So it's kind of cool. I love it. But it shows all the salesmen out there, don't take no for an answer. Keep trying, right? His boss did it, and look at him today, man. That's awesome. All right, so you go and you become a service advisor, is that right?
Yeah, so I walk in, and this is our Toyota store at Frank Fletcher, and I walk in and I meet with our service manager, Ryan Childers, and he's just this amazing, awesome guy. And he tells me at the beginning of the interview, like most interviews do go, I'm not going to offer you the position tonight. And it ended 2.5 hours, almost 2 hours later, and I've accepted the position. And that was the start. Back in April of 2014, I started back at Frank Fletcher Toyota.
Now, how did you like the service department?
I absolutely loved it. And I think it taught me a lot. Obviously it's the service department, shout out to your guys' service departments. Those guys deal with everything after the sale, more so than we've ever thought. I mean, and we have an absolute amazing service department. We have one of the best in the business. And, those guys, obviously now as a supportive role, I appreciate them so much for what they do. They make my job so easy. But being back there and just learning and you want to talk about something that's tough outside of car sales, try being a service advisor and people think you're ripping them off for thousands of dollars of repairs. It's sometimes it's a little worse. So
I've been saying that for years. I first got in the car business and I looked at the whole dealership after getting to know it. I said, the one job I don't want to ever be is a service writer. You got to spend money. You got to get money out of customers. It's never good news, right? So and you get unhappy people. And if they take too long to do an oil change, anyways, I don't want anything to do with that. So much respect to all of my service writers out there. But how did you go from doing well in service to getting back on the floor?
So one thing that I did in service that I excelled at always was I had the highest amount of customer pay. And what that means is that I sold the majority of my work was to actual customers paying for repairs versus warranty, et cetera. So I was always obviously good at that selling part. And I always had this want to go back to sales, even though I didn't want to work at a dealership. I enjoy selling. And so I started training. I started listening to anything that I could. I started watching sales videos. I reached out to Jonathan Dawson and I was like, hey, you're this big time guy. I love your stuff. I'm watching on YouTube. When are you going to start training salesmen? And he's like, hey man, I haven't really thought about it. And that's how mine and his story begins, 2 years later, and he's one of my mentors. The other thing I started doing was I started going, I had every other Saturday off as a service advisor, and I started going to our Saturday sales meetings at work. So for the salesman, I went to that meeting, and then I would go back home, and then I started mentoring with my general manager, Jim Adams. And I would meet with him every Thursday for 30, 45 minutes in his office and just talk life, talk about, sales, whatever it is. And I trained for 7 months.
Wow. Okay. So you trained for 7 months. All right. So we're back on the floor now. All right. We're putting service behind us. We're back on the floor. What was the easiest part of being on the floor in sales? What was the easiest part to you?
So Jim actually came back. I would have never made the jump from service to sales, but Matt, my new car manager, was like, hey, me and him had been kind of talking as friends. And then he took the message and went to Jim and was like, hey, I think Zach Devine needs to come to sales. So Jim shows up in the service department one day and goes, hey man, what time do you go to lunch? Which I responded with a laugh, because if anybody who's ever been a service advisor knows, service advisors don't get lunch. It just doesn't happen. So I said, Jim, I said, I don't get a lunch. And he goes, well, you get one today. You're going to lunch with me at 1. So I go to lunch with Jim. I tell Jim what I've been doing. We've been mentoring, just casually and nonchalantly across the table as we're eating some Chinese food. He goes, you're ready. You start Monday. So my jaw drops. You want to talk about being nervous, because I've failed. Like up to this point, like my sales career was, I was a failure. I had failed out. I didn't do well. I'm sitting here going back to the point where I'm like, can I support my family? This is July of 2015 or June of 2015 when this happens. I have a 1-year-old daughter. I've got been married for 1 year. I've got a lot of pressure. And so I go home to my wife and we have that talk. And I told her that I'm going to commit 2 years. I'm going to commit a solid 2 years to the car business. I said, we're going to make a lot of sacrifices. I'm going to sacrifice time with our kids. I'm going to sacrifice time with you, but I promise it's for something bigger. And sitting here 2.5 years later, I achieved more than I ever dreamed possible.
Why do you think you made that jump? You had a job that you felt comfortable in, that was cushy to you. You felt like you did well at it. What do you think was still that itch inside of you to go back and do something you had tried and failed before?
Well, and I think the answer is right there in the question too, is that something that I had tried and failed at before. I don't like failing. I always like to succeed or do well. And I wanted another shot at it. Deep down inside, I wanted another shot at it. I wanted to commit to it, but there was that one fear of failure again. And luckily, I had 2 great people in my life that have continued to help me with my success that said, hey, get over that. You're ready. You don't know it, but you're ready. Every bit that has come up to this has prepared you for this moment. It's your time. Let's go.
That's great, man. I love that. So you get back on the floor, you finally make peace in your mind, you get back on the floor. What was the easiest and what was the most challenging part?
So my first month was insane. When I came back, I had a view of the world, and this is a major point to me. I got on all these Facebook groups and I got on all these sites and I got to talking to all these top producer guys out there well before I came back. I was reaching out for this knowledge and I was just trying to learn and learn and learn and learn. We all know that inside a dealership, you've got that one top guy. And depending on what dealership you're at, that number can range from a 15 car guy, a 25 car guy, a 50, a 60, a 100. That number varies, but in that pond, he's the man. Well, I started looking outside our pond before I came back, and I'm like there's guys out here doing 40, 50, 60, 20's nothing. I was like, I'm going to sell 30. I'm going to sell 30 cars. That's my goal. That's what I want to do. And it wasn't that month. It was like, I want to sell 30 cars at some point. So the month of July, I stepped onto the sales floor, and at the end of July, I finished with 31 units, 16 fresh ups, 15 referrals.
Wow. That's amazing numbers, bro. I just want you to understand, okay? I mean, for real, it really, really, truly is, because I want you to understand there's a lot of great salesmen out there that haven't hit 30. I mean, great salesmen. There really is. And a lot of that dictate on how much traffic is and, things like that. But that's amazing. I love that. So what was the biggest challenge that you found at the dealership?
So at that point, my biggest challenge, and it's crazy, when you would think that, you'd come in and you have this guy selling 31 cars, like you probably play this mental image of like a guy getting carried out on people's shoulders and people. Talk about just like one of the most, I don't want to say hated, but like one of the most non-celebrated people in the managers loved me. A lot of the sales guys did not like me.
That happens every time, brother.
It did. And 2.5 years later, it's completely different. But at the time it was like, I had all this success and I had just absolutely killed it. And I was getting all this backlash, and it really kind of like, it just like knocked the chair right out from underneath me. And I was having to deal with a lot of negativity of the success. And so that was probably the biggest challenge, because a manager's job is to keep the general health of the dealership. And they had a lot of guys that were not happy with what I had done. And so just dealing with that was probably the biggest challenge for my first probably 6 months.
That was probably really hard for somebody that's always been able to make friends. You know what I mean? You probably have gone through your whole life and always made friends pretty easily. And all you did was come in and do the best job you could do, and everybody hates you. I totally understand it, bro. When I first got in the car business, I was number one the first month, and nobody would talk to me. Every salesman, I'd walk in a room and they would all leave, bro. I promise you, it's crazy. You're like, why do you all hate me? I don't get it. I'm a nice guy, right? They don't hate you. They just hate the fact that you made them look bad and you're working harder than them. It's, so I learned that, but it was hard at first. I understand exactly what you mean. All right. So how did you build your business up so quickly?
So the biggest thing at that point in time, I mean, this is my first month back. I mean, I've lived here my whole life. And kind of just a little bit of a background. As far as Toyota is concerned, we're a C-level market, which is their lowest level market. We have about 50,000 people in the town of Joplin with an outreach of about 150,000 throughout the next 50 miles. So I'm not from a large town, but I have lived here my whole life. And so after that, it helped knowing a lot of people. But at the beginning, no one knew I was back. And so the biggest thing I focused on was trying to stay busy during the day with opportunities that I had already started. And then I actually would stay an hour after the dealership closed, and I'd park my truck up in front of the service bay, and I'd sit on my tailgate, and I'd walk out to customers that were on the lot, that were out shopping after 7 or 8, whatever time it was. And I'd simply walk up to them and I'd go, "Hey guys, my name's Zach Devine. I understand the dealership's closed. All I want to do is give you my information. I'm going to be parked right up here at the top of the hill. If you guys have any questions or you see something you like after I leave or whatever, that's my cell phone number. Text me and let me know." If they wanted to have a further conversation, we had it. If not, I went back up and sat on my tailgate. And I started taking these ups where these guys, all day I watched 20 guys struggle for 10 ups, and I'd take 6 after 8 o'clock. And so I just started just working them. And I was following, a lot of Jonathan Dawson stuff, creating raving fans. My motto for that month was that nobody will outwork me. Nobody. And I mean, I was putting in, the sacrifice was there. Trust me. I was putting in 50, 60, as the month went on and I kept selling, so many cars, I was putting in 70 hours a week. The grind was there, and I did not let up. I was at the dealership at 8, which anybody from my dealership or my auto group that hears that, they're going to laugh because it's a good inside joke. I was there at 8 and I didn't leave until 9, 10, 11 o'clock some nights. And that was the start.
Let me ask you a question on that, because I did the same thing, but it was really, I almost lost my wife. Okay. That's how hard it was on my marriage. So I think a lot of us have trouble with the balance. And 10 years ago, that's how I was very similar to your age, and I was going at it like that. But unfortunately, I didn't have the balance in my life. Was that hard for you and your wife?
So 2013, we're freshly married, just getting everything. And I did the same thing, but without the effort and a different attitude. And we almost broke up. And so when I made this next move, we had a very long, very clear, definite conversation that we were going to do that again, but the sacrifice was going to be worth it because the outcome was going to be different. So we sat down that night and I told her that, and she agreed, and she said, I will make that commitment as well. And so, I mean, to answer that question, I think it has to be a 100% truly spousal decision. If you do have a significant other, you've got to have someone that's willing to say, okay, I'll make that sacrifice with you, because I'm not here to share secrets. I'm not here to say that there's an easy way. You can't click one button and make it happen. I mean, it takes hard work, determination, and the want to build something awesome. And if you don't do that, if you don't have that, and you don't have a spouse that's behind you, like mine, because she's awesome. I mean, honestly, she's the foundation of this business. Everything that Zach Devine is, she's the foundation of it. Because when I'm at work, she's taking care of everything. I don't have to worry about a single thing. And in sales, it's mental. If you've got worries about something else, it could kill your entire day. So major shout out to my wife. Without her and without her making the same sacrifices, I wouldn't have been able to do what I did. So
that was powerful right there, brother. That was powerful. I loved it. I just let you talk because everything you were saying right then was absolutely true. Guys, shout out to all the wives in this business because he said it perfectly. When we're at work, we cannot do our job effectively if our mind is somewhere else. And if you handle everything else and we can just focus on our careers, that's a major shout out to Zach Devine's wife. What's her name, man?
Jennifer.
All right, Jennifer, major shout out to you. That was awesome. I love that, Zach. Thank you very much. Now, for somebody that's new in the car business, green pea we'll call them, or newer, all right, what is the one thing you would tell them to improve their business quickly?
That's tough. It's not a one-part answer for me.
Give me multiple parts. I'm okay with that.
I think you have to go into it as a sponge, and you have to learn everything. Nowadays, it's so easy. I think that now in 2018, where we're at going into 2018, excuse me, that it's the access to knowledge. For example, this show right here, this wasn't here 5 years ago. You've got so many people that you can reach out to in an instant, and you have so much content online that there's no excuse for not being well-trained. My general manager, Jim Adams, looked at me and I go, man, where do I go to get training? He's like, go to YouTube. It's all right there. It's free. And you go on there and you can learn anything you want. So, so the biggest thing would be invest in your knowledge of the car business. Invest in seminars, invest in books, invest in knowledge and learning and everything that you can do. And then also at the end of that, invest in yourself. Like, be willing to take that jump and be willing to, pay for business cards, pay for pins, do other things that other people aren't doing. And you're going to get a lot of flack for it. There are going to be people making fun of you. If you're the only guy out on the lot, which I'm sure you may be out there, and you've got your phone out and you're making these videos and you're laughing and like your audience is laughing, but so are your other salesmen at the dealership, and they're like, man, look at this guy. What's he doing? Well, guess what? At the end of the month, they can laugh all they want because you sold, X amount of cars. So do your own thing, be original, and learn. That's
amazing, brother. I know you have, you've been following Jonathan Dawson. He's helped you a lot, and he's been a mentor for you. And actually, he's been a mentor for a couple of the people that we've had on here, which is amazing. I like Jonathan a lot because he will help people. And that's a passion of mine, is being able to help people. And anybody else that will help people and don't want anything for it, I just love that. But he probably has helped you with your referral process, I bet, because he's really big on this. Will you tell me a little bit about your referral process and how you get referrals?
Absolutely, yeah. And Jonathan talks about creating a raving fan. And there's so many different ways to do that. I don't necessarily use to the T what he teaches as far as like getting referrals from every single person. I do so more so in a unique buying experience. And so I'll go the extra step. And sometimes my general manager will kind of get on to me because he says that I overcommit to too many things. But, even where some would say that you're too busy to do things, I'll go pick cars up for customers. I'll go pick the car up at their work. I'll drop my truck off and let them drive it. Those types of things where you go above and beyond and you show someone that you truly care about the relationship you have with them, and not just, I want to sell you a car and then I don't ever want to talk to you again. My referrals come in almost immediately. If I sell a fresh up, I generally will get a referral within 3 to 5 business days of a family member or a friend or a coworker, just from the experience when they come and deal with me at the dealership.
Are you serious?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, so that's pretty amazing. All right, so you sell a car and within 3 to 4 days you get a referral from that person. Does that just happen? Does it just go poof? I mean, what do you do to draw that referral out of the customer?
Obviously, I mean, it's just like any other part of, you know, our business. You have to explain what your referral business is. You have to explain, you know, what we do and why we do it. And when people look at you and they can relate to your message and they can relate to what you're wanting to do, they want other people to have the same experience. And so once you explain what your referral process is, obviously ours at Frank Fletcher is, I send everybody $100 if they send me a customer. A lot of times though, you'll find when you're truly in the referral business, I've had people go, Zach, I don't want to, no, I don't need $100. Don't worry about that. And then you'll get people going, wow, now wait, does that come out of your pay? And you have these people asking these absurd questions. I'm like, listen, no, please let me send you this $100 because it's my way of saying thank you. But they want to send people because they want other people to have the same experience.
Raving fans, man, raving fans. That's huge. All right, so I'm a big guy into routines and what makes people successful. Okay, I really believe a successful person always has a successful routine. What is your daily routine? What makes you successful every day?
So this is more of the inside joke about my dealership when I said that I show up to work at 8. At this point in my career now, I go to work anywhere from 11 to 12:30 every day. So going back to that balance, I've found that most of my client base is, you know, they're off at 5. And so even if I went into work at 8 a.m., I would be at work till 8 p.m. And so I was losing that balance. And, you know, after that 2 years that I promised my wife, I had to start making some changes. And so one of those changes is I spend some morning time with my family instead of spending evening time. And then I go in and start my day. But for me, what my day normally starts with is at least 2 to 3 phone calls, 2 to 3 text messages, or 2 to 3 Facebook messages. And before I leave the house, I already have a game plan because I'm working from my phone. And I'm already getting referrals, or I'm already getting phone calls, or I'm already have a deal to finish up, like I was doing when we first started this. And so by the time I leave the house, my day's already planned through my phone on exactly what I need to accomplish today, because I've either gotten new business or I have some business to finish up from the day. And obviously, I prioritize my day. I get what I need done. And then usually I show up at work and there's someone waiting on me there that I didn't have planned. And then you make it all happen. So I try and plan it out though before I even leave the house, so I know exactly what I need to accomplish that day.
How important is social media and video in your success?
So I am the nervous part that I posted about. I'm not a big video guy. I don't like myself on video. It's so much so that the one thing I get in trouble the most from Jonathan Dawson is not doing enough video. So I need to do more video. I will say that. I know I need to do more video, but social media is my business. Without social media, without Facebook, I really don't know where I would be. And it's leveraging Facebook the proper way, but I just don't know that I would be where I'm at if I hadn't started doing what I was doing.
Do you mind if I ask, when you say leveraging it in the right way, what do you mean by that for people that are listening? Because a lot of people, I think social media is the present and future of sales, period. I think it's all going to come down to marketing. Now, you have to be decent at sales too, but it's all going to come down to marketing. So how are you leveraging, and how do you think it's important?
You're absolutely right. It's all about marketing. And obviously, anything for any brand, you can have the best marketing in the world. And if that execution isn't there when you walk through the door, your marketing goes right out the window. So you have to back that message up. So be ready when they get there, because if you don't, like I said, you're done. But there's a fine line. I like to. It's basically a storytelling marketing is kind of what I'd call it. You can't just go out there and post 50 cars. You can't just start going out there and picking out used cars and posting them, because then what you're going to do is alienate yourself from your audience, and they're going to start deleting you. So you have to find something that is not only puts out your message, but also is entertaining to your viewer in a way that they feel like they're a part of your story, because they are. And if you could think of a perfect CRM, what would it do? Would it remind you of a memory from a year ago? Would it remind you of a birthday in the morning? Would it show you what your friends are doing? Would it show you what their families are doing? So I said CRM, but what? That's Facebook.
That's amazing. That's amazing, Zach. I absolutely love that. That is gold right there, because I'm telling you what, I agree with you 100%. And the 3 out of the last 4 people that I've had on this show have all said that they use Facebook as their CRM. How important is that, man? You're talking to people that are selling a lot of cars, and they ain't using the old-fashioned way anymore, man. Their CRM is alerting them on birthdays, how long they've been friends, the anniversary of a car, instant messenger, all this stuff. We got to get sometimes out of the old, not forget it, but we have to introduce some of this new way of selling, because I'm telling you, it is solid gold. Great job, Zach. I really love that. Where do you want to be? Where do you see yourself in 5 years, man?
So I've had this internal struggle, and I've had a lot of folks tell me that the best position in the car business is sales, and I'll definitely agree with that. I think it's I'm responsible for me, etc. I get to do my own thing, but in 5 years, I see myself as a manager, hopefully at our Toyota store. And the reason I see myself as a manager, and the only reason I want to be a manager, is I want to be able to have the time and the ability to take more time and help other people. I want to be able to bring more people up, show them the success that they can have in the car business, and just help more people be successful.
Man, I love this show. Man, I get to meet so many cool people. I get to meet so many people that, inspire me too. I appreciate you sitting down with us. I appreciate all the people that have been on here. I've learned so much from all of you guys, man. I really love that. Now, I want to tell everybody, before we get to the last question, I want everybody, if you have a question, go ahead and put it in the comments right now, and we'll spend some time here with Zach and go over some of the questions. Now, I ask this every time, Zach, every single time, and I'm interested to know the 3 albums that you cannot do without, man. Give me the 3 albums.
Oh, man. And you know what? I read the questions, but I didn't read this. And Jonathan Dawson called me before this interview, and he warned me of this question. And I said this was going to be the toughest question you asked me. So, man, if I'm stuck on a desert island.
Yeah, sure, man. We got a CD player out there, man. It's the only thing we got. So I got to hear some good tunes out there, brother. What are we hearing?
I'm going to have to go. I'm a country boy, so I'm going to have to go with some Sam Hunt. And I know I'm going to get some flack for that, but I'm also going to follow that up with George Strait's greatest hits. And then I'm going to have to throw in the Bob Marley's greatest hits.
Oh, man, that's the last two there. I just love those last 2, man. That's awesome. I love Bob Marley, and I love my wife. My wife absolutely loves country. What was his movie he was in?
Pure Country.
Yeah, Pure Country, boy. I'll tell you, put that on. It'll stop my wife in her tracks. She'll sit down and watch it right away, brother. All right, so we got some questions now, man. All right. Subaru Steve Montgomery. I don't know if you know him. He's a sales hustler. And he says, have you ever advised a customer to not purchase?
Absolutely. If you have, I want to word this right. If your customer's best interest is not your first priority, you're not doing it right. Because it's so much more in this business nowadays than just a sale. I can just get a sale today, but I don't want just a sale. I want I want you to trust me so much that you say, hey, honey, go and see Zach. He'll tell you what to do. I don't need to go with you to buy the car. He'll take care of you. When you gain that level of trust, it's because you're willing to say, listen, I understand you want out early out of your 3-year lease, but you have $7,000 negative equity. It's not time. If you keep this car for X more months, you're going to be able to get out for this, and it's going to put you in such a better position. I just feel that if you don't have that mentality, you're just not doing it right.
That's good, brother. I like that. Subaru Steve, I hope that answers it. And that was a really good answer. I really liked how you said that your first interest is your first priority is their best interest. That was awesome. I loved it. All right. So Eddie Gilbert, old Eddie from Myrtle Beach, he wants to know, what method does your store use for presenting the numbers to your customers? Use a Foursquare, to use a dealer socket printout, or what do you use?
We use a dealer socket printout, but we also have a very unique store in the fact that we show every consumer numbers. Nobody gets to leave without numbers. You don't have to jump through hoops. You don't have to do this. If they want numbers, they get them before they leave. So it's a pretty relaxed store. We're not only me, but the rest of the store is a lot of repeat and referral business.
Jerry Peppers wants to know, what's your #1 marketing tool besides Facebook?
Besides Facebook, it would be the pin. Let's see if I got one. I got one right here. So this is the business card. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's upside down, I think. There we go. That's the business card. That is the only thing I use. I do not give out traditional business cards. It's a pin. It says it's all fine when you go with Divine. Has my logo, my name again, phone number, my email. It has a stylus on the end of it. Good weight, a nice pin. Costs a little bit more than just your normal pin. But I have people coming back 2 years later, and they have both my pins in their cup holders, and they'll say, "Hey, wait, I forgot your pins in my cup holder." So I mean, I wouldn't have anything else. If I had to start all over again, the first thing I'd buy is pins.
Can I ask you a question just for to understand the marketing side of that? How many pens do you usually buy, and how much does that cost? How much money is that you're investing in yourself?
So at this point in time, I'm going through about 300 pins in about 45 days, and the pins average right at about 75 cents a pin. And then the other thing I want to notate on that is, do your business locally. I do all my business. I have pins, cards, like postcards of I thank you. I have keychains. I have air fresheners, door jam stickers. Every single thing's made local. I find it very hypocritical for me to ask all my customers to shop locally and then me not support my local community. So it's very important to me that I do shop local, and I do utilize the people that are in my community for all my marketing tools.
That's great, man. And you know what? That probably is really good for reciprocating sales back to you. That's awesome. That's a very good job of marketing there. I got a question here from Jonathan Dawson. Do you know him? All right. So he said, what is the one skill you feel you're the weakest with?
Absolutely.
Other than doing videos, brother. Other than doing videos.
Did he just add that?
Yes, he did.
I would definitely say that, and all of us could, I definitely feel like I could do more and do better follow-up. I wish that I had more time in the day to be able to connect and spend more time and learn more about all my customers.
That's great, brother. That's great, man. We have come to the end of our show, man. This one went quick, didn't it?
Yeah, man. I was nervous at the beginning, but yeah, it went very fast.
Well, we're all nervous. I'm nervous at the beginning of every show. I fall into it just like you did. You did an amazing job, man. You gave an amazing nuggets. You felt cool. You felt relaxed. You did a great job. I want everybody to know how they can follow you, how they can find you. You probably are going to open yourself up to new people that never even knew you before. So get your word out, man. How can people find you?
Obviously, Facebook is the main one. It's Zach Divine, Divine.
Make sure you spell his name right. It's Z-A-C-H, everybody.
Divine.
That's right.
Yes.
And what's your tagline, man? What's your tagline?
So the tagline is, it's all fine with Divine. And it's kind of became a little bit of a staple in my hometown. So it's kind of funny. A lot of people, it's cheesy. I kind of feel like the cheesier it is, the cheesier some marketing you can get, like the better, the more it sticks. So it's kind of fun.
Well, I'm very impressed today. How old are you exactly?
I just turned 32 7 days ago.
Well, you're pretty put together guy at 32. I appreciate meeting you today. It's been an amazing interview. I love getting to know you. Guys, if you don't know him, get to know him, follow him. I want to thank him today. I want to thank all you guys for joining us on Sales Hustler Spotlight. I want to give a big shout out to my boy Chad Morgan and QuickPage, who did a great job of getting this all set up, because one thing I am not good at is all the techie stuff. I want to walk a room and just do what I do. And Chad and Michelle make that possible. I want to thank you again for getting that all set up for us today. I want to thank everybody. We got a big guest for you next week. I'll be back tomorrow with a little bit of a morning meeting, and I'll see you there. All right, Shawn Hayes here, your car guy, and we got Sales Hustler Spotlight. We're out of here.